Alright, welcome back to another web development video where I show you how to make modern websites using HTML5, CSS3, and a little bit of JavaScript. In this series we're working with a program called Webflow, W-E-B-F-L-O-W, and you can find it at webflow.com. And what it is it's an online visual code editor. So you're working in the browser, but you're working with this interface that you see right in front of us. And it's a very familiar interface. It looks a lot like many of the design programs that you might use like Photoshop or Illustrator. But it allows us to write clean and semantic code by dragging and dropping certain elements. And it gives us a lot of freedom and in some ways gives us some shortcuts to be able to do the same things that we can do by hand coding. We can do visually just by clicking buttons or by dragging and dropping different elements. We have been working on this website. It's like a brochure site for a law firm, and we're using this this site here as kind of a template. This is a real website that's online, that's a free template, and we just created this section here and now we're going to move on and we're going to do the testimonials here. And I showed you in the last video how we could use the CMS part of Webflow, which is really one of the most powerful parts of Webflow, is that it has a built-in CMS, or what they're calling collections. So I haven't even touched on the editor part of the CMS, which is really amazing. I'll talk about it at the end. But just for our design purposes, we've been able to create all of these different elements here dynamically by going here to the CMS Collections, and we're using the services. So you can see all of our different services here, and each one has a field, and we're merely collecting or connecting that field to the appropriate place on here, and then it automatically updates the front end. So if we were to make a change here on the back end, it would be reflected on the front end, so that you can make changes just like you would in WordPress or CMS, where when you make the changes in the field in the back end and you hit save, then the people who are visiting the website are going to see those changes as they happen. So we're going to use this again for our testimonials. That way, if we wanted to include more testimonials, then we could. And I'm going to show you, you can see that we have kind of a limited space here. I'm going to show you how we can limit the number of these so that it only shows the latest, or it only shows a specific number of testimonials. We could do the same up here. I don't want to rehash that section, I just want to move on. So what we do is, I find the easiest way is to come to the navigator and click body, and we're just going to add a new section, and we click on that, and then it adds it right to the bottom, you can see here. And we're going to call this section Testimonials. So that's going to be its class name. We can also give it an ID of Testimonials, just in case we ever wanted to make it so that we could jump to that section. And what do we need? We have a background image for this section. We also have this internal heading, excuse me, and then we have these cards, I guess is how you would call them. So it's going to take a little bit of maybe some absolute positioning on our part in order to get exactly what we want. So let's go ahead and add how do I want to do this? I want to just go ahead and add a heading. So we'll try this out and see if it works. We'll call it Testimonials. And that's what they have, right? Testimonials. And then we're going to apply our site-wide font, which is Montserrat, and we're just going to make that just light, and then maybe 24. So I can do 24 here for a line height. Let's go back to our testimonials section, and let's add a background image. So the way that we do that, let's close up some of these, is we go to our background section here, and we can choose image, and then choose the image. I've already uploaded one. I'm going to use these guys jumping. Can't see very much here because we don't have a lot of content. All that we have is this testimonial heading. And what I want to do is I want to make this a specific height, the testimonial section. So if we go up to our height, let's give it like a 50 viewport height, which means it'll always take up like half of the viewport screen height. So whatever the height is of the viewport screen, it'll take up half of that. Let's go ahead and make this one our default white color. Make it a little bit bigger. Okay. And then we want to center that. And then we also want to give it some I guess it doesn't really matter whether it's padding or something else. So let's say 100 pixels. Let's not do 100. Let's do less. Let's do it 64. Okay, and this is getting a little, it's not very dark. It's not a great photo. Let's see what we can do with it first before we add a layer on it. Let's say cover, and from the bottom, middle, top, we can adjust it a little bit, about like that. And I also just want to add a little gradient over the top of it. So how will we do this? We would do the same color all the way around. This is how I like to colorize or darken images so that the text pops out, is I like to use a linear gradient, and then you bring it down to like, I don't know, 50% opacity. And then we'll do the same thing with the other side. It'll be black, 50% opacity. And you can see that we have a nice gradient over the top of our image, right? It allows this to pop out a little bit more. It recedes everything into the background, and you can just tack it right onto the image in the CSS, and it's manipulatable, so it's kind of a nice thing to have. So we have our testimonials, and now we need to create our little blocks or our boxes. So let's make a div, and we're going to put it right inside of the testimonials. So we have a div here, and what we're going to do is make this, let's make our testimonials position relative, and we'll make this new div position absolute. We'll put it at 0, which will stick it at the bottom of this testimonials section, and then we'll make sure that it's 100% wide. And so now it goes the full length of this. And then we need to create, I'm going to give it a height just because, actually, let's give it some padding just so we can see it. We don't necessarily need that padding eventually, but just so we can see it and be able to manipulate it. Actually, a better thing to do would be just give it a color, huh? Let's give it some sort of a light. That was not it. So let's give it a light, some kind of color. Okay. Alright, so what we want to do is get another div, and we're going to call this div, how do we want to do that? We don't want to do that. What we want to do is add our collection. Let's just go for it. We take our collection list just like we did up here, and we add it here. And we're going to connect it to our collection called Testimonials. Now you can see that it fills our section with all of our testimonials. We want to have, let's see, four columns. We'll just do 4 columns. That'll be fine. And then for our testimonials, we want them to have our text, and then we want them to have this little media element here. So let's design that part. And now that we're connected, we're going to be able to pull in our information from our collection, but we still have to design it. We have to make the containers so that we can pull that information in. So let's go ahead and set a, that's not what I want. Let's set a paragraph block. So we grab our paragraph, and we'll set a paragraph in here. Our paragraph is going to be connected to our testimonials. Somehow. Oh, that's not a good design. Let's create some space underneath. So let's try it now. I know we can't see it yet because the text isn't white, but we want to put our testimonial text. And so now our testimonial text gets filled in everywhere. And then let's go ahead and make this something. Let's make this testimonial text, not test. And so now all these should be, they should have the class of testimonial text, so that when we go through and make changes to it, it should change them all. So they all should be Montserrat, and they all should have the color of our default color. I think that's right? Yeah. And then maybe extra light, and it's not our collections list, it's our collection item. What if we do that and we delete this div block? I'm not sure why I made that div block in there. But let's just do our collection item. And then the background of that collection item will be, let's start it with this hot pink. And so our collection item background is going to be this color. Okay. And these are let's just make them this way, and then we'll try to make our collection list wrapper so this is going to be the collection, no, testimonials, call it testimonial list. The testimonial list is going to be a display flex. Okay, that works. And let's do all of our alignment to the baseline. So you see that if something has more text to it, then it's going to poke up above. That's a good thing, and that's exactly what we want. We can take the background off of this now. So you just click off that. So you can see we're getting there. For each of these collection items, let's do a little padding while we're here. So we'll give it maybe 16 rem, 1 rem of padding. And then we need to add more dynamic elements to here. So we have, what do we have in our design? We have this little media box. So we need this to be its own little div. And then we need to put our image, and we need to put our name and title and stuff in it. So let's just get another div. And once we add it to one block, it doesn't matter which one, then we can set a class and we'll say testimonial media element. So they all have the title of testimonial media element. We're also going to set another div inside, and that one we're going to call testimonial media image, and then we're going to set another div inside. That's not where I want it to go, but we'll straighten it out. We'll say testimonial media title. So this will be their title and everything. So we want that to be actually here, so that those two things are able to be flexed. That's what we originally wanted to do. We want to make them flexed. Getting some weird things here. 0, 1. We want to have 4 elements. So can we just do 25% like that? And then we need something to put our image into. So we have an image block, and we put that here. And as soon as we put our image block, we get the ability to connect it to our collections. So we have a testimonial image, and we're going to connect it to our collection. Those images are way too big, so we're going to say like 40 pixels by 40 pixels. Okay, maybe 50. Okay, so we have 50 by 50 little images, and each of these images is going to be, we'll just give it a border radius of 50%. So now there's circles, and we need to create our text here. So we're going to add, let's just add a heading, and then we can connect these headings to our testimonials, and we'll say the testimonial author is going to be one heading, and then we need to add another heading. We could do, let's just do a text block, that'd be fun. And then we can connect our text block to our testimonials collection to add our author position. So you can see now our testimonials are all being dynamically generated through our collection. Our collection is called Testimonials, so these are all of our testimonials. Each one is pulling in the author's name, the author's position, and a little bit of testimonial text plus this image. So that's a really cool part, and this is all an HTML site. I'm not building any sort of SQL, or I don't have any sort of database that's working anywhere. This is just totally created in the browser, and I assume that the collections are being maybe through JSON. I don't know. I'm not sure how they're collecting all of the data from the collections, but maybe it's a JSON file. So what we want to do is we want to take this testimonial media element. We want that to be flexbox. We want it to be centered vertically, and we're going to have to work on the text here a little bit. So let's say Montserrat, and let's say 16, and let's say white, which is our default color, and we'll do this is not in the right place. This text block needs to be in here with the headings, but it needs to be second. Okay, there we go. And let's do the same thing. Montserrat, our inverse color, white smoke, and then 16, maybe 12. Let's do that. Let's get rid of the margin here. I don't really want any margin on that. And let's get rid of the margin. Well, that doesn't have any. It says something. Oh, line height. Always the line height. So let's give our we have testimonial media element. Let's move one up to the media title, and let's give it a margin to the left of just 1 rem. See how that looks. That looks okay. And what do we have here? So this is not bold, but let's say medium, and then the whole media element we could afford maybe just to create a little space, and then on these boxes let's make just a little bit more padding. So we have 1 rem now. Let's make it 2. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I don't know if there's a way for me to alternate if there's a way for me to alternate. We'll call it testimonial alt yeah, I'm trying to see if there's a way for me to do an alternating background on these. There's no way for me to choose the nth child, I don't think. I'm just trying to see if there's a way for me to do that. I don't know. So when I add, because it's a collection item, if I add this once, it adds it to all of the items. So that's not exactly what I want. I want the nth child to be a different color. We have 5 here right now, and let's say we wanted to limit these. You can come in here and you can change, some different things. Like we can limit the number of items that it shows. So you can start at 1 and you can limit it to however many. If you had 500 in your collection but you only wanted to show 100, then you could change that. We only want it to show 4. And so right now it's only going to show 4. And we can choose the order that they sort in. So right now they're alphabetical. Okay. So published on, created on. These are all the different filters that we can do. So we could, if you had multiple ones with the same name, you could filter it by name and only show those. If you only had some of them that had an image, you could select the testimonial image, and if it is set, then it'll only show the ones with images. But if someone has not set the testimonial image, then it wouldn't show anything. It would only show the ones with. So you can set some different things there. Background color, background image, text color. There's no fields to connect to. This is the one. Okay. So to create our alternating scheme, we go to our CMS, and I think Emily is the first one. Is that right? Louise, John, Sue, Jenny. All right. Louise, John, Sue, Jenny. So it goes top to bottom. And if we add we can add an alternate color scheme. So let's say color. So then save the collection, and Louise has an alternate color, and that's this color. Okay. Let's go back and try this. So for this one here, we want to get a background image for alternate color. Okay. Excuse me, I'm still trying to get over like a year-long sinus stuff. Alright, so you can see that her color has changed because she has the alternate color set. If it's not set in your collection, then it probably is not going to show it. So let's see, let's grab that color. And we'll put that there, we'll save, and we'll put it with Emily, and we'll save there too. So when we come back, there should be alternating colors. Okay. So we have an alternate color scheme set up, like a field set up in our collection. And if you input the alternate color, it'll override the default color. And the way that we do that is in our collection item. If we go to our collection item settings, and we can select some of these different things. So we can choose a background color if you want something alternating, or if you had, let's say, tags or categories that you wanted to include, and you wanted each of the categories like travel one color, a different category another color, a different category another color, you could actually set those background colors on each of the collection items, and then you can input it into the front end just like this. So that's kind of a cool little thing, which we have our text here, we have our testimonials, and I want to make this testimonials box a little bit taller, I believe. So I had a max width or a height of 50 viewport heights. So let's make it 70, and we can show a little bit more of these guys. So you can see that we have our testimonials displaying. We have more testimonials than this, but we're only showing 4. So we can limit the number of testimonials that show up on the page, or we can add more on the back end. And so as we add more, we can have it sort in any different way that we want to, so that they show up. So it can be most recent or that type of thing. Things that have been either published or created or updated most recent. So you can choose the sort order on those things. So it looks pretty close to that. This one has 5. So I only created 5 of these testimonials. But you can see how that works. It's a little bit tall. Maybe I had it right at 50. So let's look at it on the page. Nope. Yeah, 60. Try 60. Okay. Yeah, 60 is pretty good. So these guys are super excited, and now that they're on the page like that, the background looks a little let's pull them up a little bit. Okay. All right, so that's a pretty good job. So we have our testimonials, we have our services, we have our feature section, we have our stats section, and we have our top section, hero. So we're moving ourselves down the page, and the next section on this site is going to be another dynamic section where we create the team members. And so it'll be done just the exact same way that we've done the other collection sections. And if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to get to them as best I can. If you've missed some of the first videos, go back to video number 1 and start working your way through. We're just going from the top of the website all the way down to the bottom with each video. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.